we'll hop right in. Admittedly, as you can tell, this is the first in the little line of experiments we're doing. I kind of stepped back and realized there is so much out there right now on this topic I love, topic Akshay and all my guests and visitors love, but we really didn't realize there's no way to just kind of keep up with it. And there's, frankly, between you and me, there's just too much to read. I can't read everything that's coming to my inbox or coming in on LinkedIn. So I think chatting through things is a little bit faster. So I'm Lucy. I love contracting naturally. Most of my career was in-house at Microsoft, but soon that most is going to flip and it'll be half and half, I'm afraid. And then for a good chunk of years now, I've been out on my little adventure consulting and working with corporate legal teams on contracting best practices, efficiencies, and tech. So with that, Akshay, why don't you say hello and give people a little
Hi, everyone.
Background.
Yeah, I'm Akshay.
Of course, right as you sip your coffee. I worked as a waitress in college, so they teach us how to do that.
I think there was a little bit of a lag.
Wait. There's a lag. Yes.
You
just talk. It'll catch up. What? It'll catch up.
I'm Akshay Verma. I was also a practicing lawyer for a while, but for the last 13 years, I've been on the business side of the law in various roles. I did a bunch of business development and consulting at Axiom, which really kind of got me into the world of legal operations and running legal departments, and also CLM. And then was the head of legal ops at Facebook and at Coinbase over the span of about 6.5 years. And then took the COO role here at SpotDraft about 1.5 years ago. So now I have been neck deep, ear deep, I don't know, nose deep, whatever it is, deep in CLM for the last 1.5 years. Certainly with our product, but also with our customers. And I stay very, very closely connected to the legal ops world. So excited to have this conversation today, Lucy.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for, I think we've now admitted online that, and openly that you are our guinea pig, and I really do appreciate it. I always said you will have an encore opportunity if this all goes sour. Okay. I have a bazillion questions. I'm going to try to make some sense out of all the questions that are in my head, but I do need to start with AI. That's really the thing that just nobody can keep up with, and I told you I'd throw you a softball, so what do we need to know about AI? And I'm just going to sit back, sip my coffee. Yeah, but tell me what you're seeing. You are in the business, and then feel free to tell us what SpotDraft does and doesn't do in the world of AI, and just your thoughts. But
yeah, look, here is where I have kind of landed for the time being. I'm sure this will evolve. I don't know. Tomorrow, maybe not quite that fast, but soon I'm sure it will. But my view on AI, it's my personal view on AI. It is another tool, just like all the other tools that our profession and companies and people have had and built and used over time. It's a tool, and understanding how to use the tool, making sure we're using the tool in the best way possible. Getting the best bang for our buck with this tool. I think those are all very common and real topics that are very, very it's a topic that we've absolutely been accustomed to forever. So from that way, I know everything feels new and scary maybe at some level, and oh my gosh, where do I look and what do I learn? But if I boil it down to just that concept, I think it makes it a lot easier for me to get my mind around. Now, maybe I can say that because, to your point, I kind of live in this world right now. Yes, our platform leverages AI in a few different ways. I think contracting in general is kind of ripe to I don't know if disrupted is the right way, but to be made more effective through the leveraging of AI. And so I'm in this on a daily basis, both with our product team, our customers, the market in general, legal operations. I think if you are on LinkedIn at all, Tommy Ferreira, who's a legend in legal ops, made a great post this morning. It was hilarious, just around AI. And so if you're on LinkedIn at all, you are absolutely like hit over the head on a daily basis with all the different AI posts. And I get that.
I think it's over. Like, so I think so that's happening because it truly is in everybody's world, not just those of us in the business of legal ops and tech and all that stuff, but it's in our families. It's my parents, you're 70 plus. And I mean, we're having dinner with them. So in your business, are you using AI? I mean, they're like, it's casual cocktail conversation, even at home over like, I don't know, Franken beans or whatever you're having. It just feels like it's everywhere. And I think that's why it's so, and your kids, obviously, right? You've said you've got two.
My boys ask me about SpotDraft and AI almost on the daily.
That's right. And I think that's the reality. So it's a different type of tech, right? So yes, it's tools and it's just another tool, which I totally agree. And part of me, that's when I get so irritated with it. I'm like, God, it's been around, people. Like, you want to just go, this isn't actually new, but the use of it now, the mainstream use of it, I think is what's new. And you really can't avoid it. So it is here. This isn't and I think all the excitability with those, they can come in after lawyers' jobs. I could replace the exact same headlines with outsourcing. I don't say how many years ago that was. I was a wee bit tiny baby when I learned about outsourcing. But yeah, I'd say a solid 15 years ago, it was, glad the lawyers' jobs are going away. It just feels like it's the same. And I was so here, let me ask you this. What do you, tell me how I think there's a direct, clear evolution and connection actually between outsourcing and AI. And can't we just think of AI as another little outsourcing buddy, another little outsourcing option?
I think that's a great way to think about it. Any way that you can create productivity for yourself, your team, your department, your company, you're going to want to do that. As a sound business person, you're going to want to do that. Okay. I use a kind of an extreme example with my boys. I have a almost 11 and an almost 13. They are starting to allow them to use AI in very specific contexts for schoolwork.
At school, starting to allow you, or the school? You mean the school?
The school is allowing students in very limited capacities because it's a tool that they're going to have to learn. It's a skill set that they're going to have to build. Yeah. And I know this is cliche by now because it's been around for like 6 months, so I'll call it cliche. Nobody's going to lose their jobs to AI, but you will lose your job to someone who leverages AI. That is a skill set. You have to learn it. I don't care what profession you're in. I think you're going to have to learn it. But I use this kind of somewhat crazy example with my kids, which is that what happened when we invented the wheel? When human beings invented the wheel, we were no longer carrying big things on our back or in big baskets, right? The labor-intensive nature of what we needed to move around, including human bodies, became less and it became more efficient. And I think if you can think about AI in a very similar fashion, and let's put all the science fiction, which may become reality somewhere down the road after our lifetimes, about robots taking over the world and all those kinds of things, that's fine if you want to talk about that. But I think if you put that aside for the minute, I think I come back to this. It's an incredibly powerful tool, one that we haven't really seen before. And so it feels magical. But at the end of the day, it is mathematics, it is statistics, and it can make you more productive. And I think if you limit it to that kind of an understanding, irrespective of the use case that you have for it, then I think it becomes a lot easier to get your mind around those things.
I think that's exactly right. People really just need to just take a little step back. It isn't the magic. It isn't something you have to tackle. It's just now there, just like everything else. And if you're going to still write letters instead of using email, that your letters aren't going to get there as fast as the person, your competitor who used email. I think it's kind of that analogy, but it is, you're right. It's a little science fiction-y for some people. You made I love the word you said, they're starting to allow them in school, which I do have to say, I mean, I'm no expert on educational systems, but allow. I mean, aren't they touching their other computer? I mean, don't they have access to it regardless of what they do or don't allow? I got kids across the ages. I've got, college, about to go to college and middle school. And they all come at it very differently. I've got one that the college kid feels guilty. I feel a little bad, but I put this in the ChatGPT, and I was like, A, don't feel bad at all. Good, and two, good for you. A, two, and C, your professors. No, there's no. Yes. So this whole concept of control, and that's college. I know in the middle school world, I could see where it's more control because they have their own they give them laptops. But at the end of the day, your boys are using it for their personal purposes anyway, left, right, and up and down. And so whatever the school is allowing or not allowing, I think that's short-lived. I think it's going to fly wide open. It just kind of has to. But isn't there an analogy in that for work? Because I was at yet another event, and AI happened to have been a topic, and it was all around permissions. Sorry, not even in-house internal like policies, but how law departments are dealing with their law firms' usage of AI, which again brings me back to the same analogy of outsourcing. Tell us exactly and who and how much and how many and what are the savings, and I want to know. And I raised my hand and said, isn't it just an efficiency play where you're saying, hey, law firms, you got to be efficient, use whatever you do, keep my data safe. By the way, you're already obligated to do that anyway, because I remember those arguments of moving to the cloud. But why are we just all a little bit freaked out that we're like, no, with AI, I want to know more. I want to get all up under your hood when, by the way, I may not even understand it, but I need to know. And what LLM are you using? Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you really asking your law firms that? Like, how do you see that relationship between in-house and law firms using AI?
Yeah. So at one end, and I worked heavily in spend management during my time at Facebook and Coinbase. And that was predominantly with law firms. So that has been a tug of war that will continue because there are firms that are charging $3,500 an hour for partner time. I mean, it's just insane, right?
Is that real? I've heard like 1,800.
Oh, no. 1,800 is so 2015.
I'm so outdated. 3,500. I can't get my brain around that. Sorry. I know I'm going to get a bunch of nasty grants.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But the demand, and it has to be a demand from in-house clients to their law firms.
Right.
Show me where you are saving me money with the same or better outcome work product wise by leveraging AI in the next month. I'd like to know what that is. Right.
But like the work, like you're saying, show me the kind of work you're doing. I mean, you're not saying like, let me dig in your bills. Why was that still 5 hours? Didn't you use AI? I mean, I've seen crazy conversations from in-house going, like they really want to like get in there and
there's a loss of trust in that relationship.
Please, you can hardly review an invoice to begin with.
Absolutely. Look, but if let's say a brief cost you without AI used to cost a client $50,000 to draft and finalize. It is common sense to understand that with AI, it should be significantly less. I don't know how much less, but significantly less. And that's the conversation that I think it probably needs to happen more of in that relationship between in-house counsel and their outside firms. Now, there are some risks to consider, and there really are. And this is something we're actually dealing with at SpotDraft ourselves for all the internal work that we do. And we have an AI task force within the company. How are we creating efficiencies in the work that we do, and how are we making our people more productive and the company more productive? So, for example, if I have like 10 contracts that I want to analyze, am I just going to pump those into Gemini or Claude or Copilot or ChatGPT to get it? I'm probably not going to want to do that because what's in those contracts?
Yeah.
Is that confidential information? There are a lot of things to consider, but it's so easy to drag and drop those files into the platform and get an output. So I do think you need to be responsible like you would have been. You probably wouldn't be reading a merger document on a plane when there's a bunch of people sitting around you, right? Like forget about technology. You've got some paper in front of you. You probably wouldn't be doing that.
That's right.
Why not? Because it's confidential and it's high priority. Yeah. So you do need to treat this technology in some of the ways that we use it in a very similar mindset. I don't think that's different. I think what changes is the ease with which this stuff can get out, so to speak.
Yeah. I think people are a little bit, I think that's what it is. Because so many people don't understand it, most don't. I'm going to raise my hand. I mean, come on, I play an expert on TV, but it's changing so fast. I almost just go back to not what do I need to worry about and how do I protect and how do I we've created a little simple rule actually in our team. And we say, you know what, use the free version we have already available to us though inside of our Office 365 license. Yeah. So just to be very tactical, right? And there is no pitch or promo here for anything or anybody, but I'm an Office 365 shop. It's in my veins. I always will be. And so I'm like, okay, wait, with that license, we have Copilot. By the way, of course, I have Copilot regularly out there in the world, as like Gemini, like all the other free and ChatGPT and all the free versions. And we only have we have a few licenses to Copilot inside of Office. But what we've discovered is, you know what? A good rule of thumb, if you're paying for it, safer. That's a very easy, and even at home, anybody I talk to, anything, like if you are kind of a worrier, a conspiracy theorist, you're afraid to put anything anywhere, if you're paying, you're likely in a little bit of a better situation than if you're paying nothing. And then there's the levels of paying, of course, and the secured and the enterprise licenses and all that stuff. But I feel like that's an easy rule of thumb that works well at a cocktail party and at work in many cases.
I agree. But let's also look at kind of the business strategy for these large LLM companies. Everything's free until it's not.
Yep.
Everything's free until you're hooked. Everything's free until you have to use them, and then it's not free. So you're going to end up paying for this irrespective of that down the road. That's going to happen. Right. So I think if there's extra value in the payment, I think that's a solid bet to make. I think that's a good approach.
Yeah. What's going to be interesting is also watching how paying for, and they're not, I would say they're not kind of your cheap monthly user if you compare it to other things. I mean, it could get it feels a little pricey. At least, again, I'm a small business owner, and I'm like, that's a little, okay, I got to think about this one. How many people do we have now? But at some point, there's functionality that's going to bring and benefits that it brings where I'm like, it's going to obviously start replacing other things. And that's the big question here that we're also seeing. I love the CLM is dead. Clickbait, all good clickbait. I get it. We're all in business. Everybody's got to do some marketing and get some eyeballs, and that's fine and good. I've been saying, can we stop talking about CLM for a couple of years now because whatever. But the reality is that what these AI solutions are doing, it's going to start creeping into all kinds of other, technology competition. Let's say. I mean, it is coming after, and it isn't. I hate even that. I'm being all dramatic too. It's not coming after anything. It's evolving in a way. The use of this technology that is going to naturally start cannibalizing stuff. Where do you think it's going to cannibalize first in the contracting life cycle? All the things.
I'm not sure I don't know if cannibalize is the right word, but okay. let's take a look at a couple of the different kinds of technologies that have come up in the last 6 months to a year. Redlining tools, okay, which I would consider a point solution in the contracting ecosystem. It's a point solution.
Agreed.
In the
if you've done really well, it should be a point solution.
Yeah, exactly right. And you know what? That's all some companies need, and that's fine. And this has been I think. Yep. One of my favorite conversations in my space is not MySpace, the company, but in my space, the CLM space.
MySpace. How old are you, Akshay?
You seen I didn't shave today. Look at my beard.
You look wise.
I'm a little up there. But if that's what the company needs and that's sufficient, then that's fine. Not everybody needs all the bells and whistles. Not everybody needs, your post had the end-to-end CLM. Not everybody needs that. And so the question really, and this is the favorite part of my conversation with customers, the question really is, what business outcomes are you really after? What are your pain points that are preventing you from realizing those? And then what is the solution?
Yeah.
Right. And for us, sometimes it's a modular solution. It's a modular solution. Sometimes it's the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah. I'm hearing a theme here. Identify your pain point first.
Absolutely.
Nobody's ever said that on LinkedIn ever before. You heard it here from ladies and gentlemen. But I mean, like, how much can we beat that? I mean, how much can we say that? People just still don't want to hear it. It's just not sexy or interesting. And unfortunately, it's still being missed. And I think the promises of AI right now are, they're just moving people further and further from that important question of what's the problem you're trying to solve, because they're jumping to this. Before it was, I need a CLM. I need a CLM. I need a CLM. Every call we got, I need a CLM. And that was actually right. I would say COVID time is really when the explosion of this started happening.
Yeah.
Why? For what? 10 minutes later, I'm like, you need a repository. Sorry, boring. I know. Oh, and by the way, you have Box, Dropbox, SharePoint, Google Drive. On Google Drive, I have issues with, but that's for another topic. Again, I'm not gonna pay by any of these people, so I can say whatever I want now. But unsexy, and that's not cool, and nobody wants to show their GC that's the outcome of this conversation. So it's back to I need a CLM. Now it is hyper excitability around AI. I need AI. I mean, and this one really gets me because, okay, maybe you are interested in a CLM system because of some of the things it can do for you. Even a really smart repository, fine. Light that up first, figure out what else you need. Okay, but I need AI. I mean, how many different analogies, can we have for that? My favorite is the car, it's the engine. It's I'm 16 years old. I got like $1,000 that I got as a gift from my grandparents to buy a car. I am going to go look for an 850 horsepower engine. What?
Yeah.
What do you mean? By the way, I only drive 4 miles to get from my parents' basement to my school with my $1,000 budget. But I heard there are some amazing new engines that have just been recently developed, by the way, by Ferrari and Lamborghini, and they're out in the market, and then all the other cool cars that I don't even know anymore. But like, that's what it feels like every day, that we have to go, sorry, uncool, unsexy. Let's go back. Let's first start talking about what car dealership you might even want to go to. Yeah. I feel like that's where we are. And I don't know how do you not rain on people's parade when you have, especially you guys. I mean, if you're trying to sell something, right? How do you A, not rain on their parade, but B, really, confirm that they're ready for the solution you have?
Yeah. The AI, the we need AI, that's driven from the business side. There's a fear that you will get left behind if you're not leveraging AI. To some extent, that is true. I don't think we can shy away from that. I think to some extent that's true. How true it is right now is certainly open for debate. But I will always take that question back with our prospects and our customers to, like, what are you really trying to solve? Okay. If you want to be able to tell your GC or your CEO that we leverage AI in legal, and that's the extent of it, well, you can do that right now, because I guarantee you're leveraging AI and you don't even know it. But
that's right.
But if I'm your CEO, I'm going to want to know, what are you leveraging it for, and how is it providing a benefit to the company? Are you saving money? Are you reducing effort? Are you reducing risk? That's my trifecta of all tools in legal operation. Does it do those three things, right? Well, any kind of initiative, it'll have to have those three things. So can you show them? That's the way that I approach that conversation.
And that's spot on. I'll say two very tactical, practical things. One, you're probably already using AI, of course, spot on, but they're going to want something to show them. I've told them, especially those departments that, again, they're kind of still in the Fred Flintstone stage with the feet in the car, and they want to use AI. And I say, okay, you know what? Use it to review your emails. Use it to synthesize your emails. Just if you can start with that, again, super unsexy, super not exciting, but I guarantee if they've not actually ever tried it, they're like, wow. So we try to give like super pragmatic things to say, no problem, go back to your CEO and say, hey, the law department from now on is running all of our work product that we put back to the business. Any knowledge sharing that we're doing with the business broadly, where we try to, we create Q&As and FAQ, whatever, all that good stuff. Like just try doing that with whatever ideally enterprise AI you have available to you, which again goes back to the whole, no, don't go uploading your corporate policies into the free version of ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever. So I'd say that is one easy step that every law department should be taking. You have to start playing with it, period. I also said even before that, you're afraid of touching it at work, plan your next trip on it, get a recipe from it, write a poem for your spouse's anniversary, birthday, whatever.
Don't write a poem.
They have to do that. A song, a parody. There's so much they can just start. And then to bring it in-house, I say, email. Help it revise your email. Tell it to be funny. Tell it to be professional. Tell it to be polite, whatever you want. That's one, I think, super tactical thing. And then to your point, when they need to show like actually what is the outcome and the value, the benefit to the business. Hey, can we go back to that macro point of if you're in-house, you are a business enabler first. Take off your lawyers for lawyering law firm hat that we all come in-house with, or most of us do. Enable the business. Yeah. So in the last few minutes, let's connect the dots between lawyers using AI to be more efficient and effective in their day job because we're all overwhelmed in-house and all that good stuff. How do we connect the line between, I think this is the direct connection between if I'm more efficient, you business are going to move faster. Certainly in contracting, I'll tee up a softball here.
Yeah.
AI contracting, legal efficiencies, and business value.
Yeah.
Tell us that story.
Look, it's part of the reason I think AI is so prevalent in our profession is because we do things so manually. It has been the bane of legal department existence for decades. So that's why I think you're seeing more and more of this now, particularly in our profession. There are other disciplines across companies where this kind of technology has already been used for a long time. So contracting, yes, contracting can be a very manually intensive exercise within a department if you do it manually. But let's take redlining tools, right? We have a redlining tool. Let's take extraction of certain kinds of provisions and data from your contracts. Those are the two main use cases for AI within the SpotDraft platform. Those are both very manually intensive exercises if you're not leveraging technology. So if you are a procurement lawyer and you support the procurement team, and so you get, I don't know, however many agreements that you got to crank through every day, and you're doing it manually, and you typically have your playbook, and maybe you've memorized it because you've been doing it for a while, or you're a newer lawyer in the team, and you've got your one screen open that has your playbook in it, and then you've got your other screen open that has your contracts that you're reviewing, and you're going through them, and you're making your notes and your redlining. Well, one contract could take you a couple of hours, let's just say. Well, in comes this contract redlining tool, ours is called Verify. It plugs in your playbook. It gives you redline suggestions. It tells you why it gave you those suggestions. It gives you suggested language. And all of a sudden, that 2 hours is down to 15, 20 minutes. You still, as the reason we call it Verify, you still have to take a look at it and make sure that it makes sense. That judgment is not going anywhere. You need that as a lawyer.
Yeah,
and
that's the key. That's like the PSA to close out. We've got a minute left. We want to be mindful of everybody's time, and that's the PSA. Obviously, the human is still there in the loop, and there's some readiness.
You've reduced the effort significantly.
Absolutely, 100%. But and there is some prep that needs to go into that playbook. It needs to exist. It needs to be ready for ingestion, automate. Like again, there's all that other good stuff that still needs to happen. But you can even start, I think, with some pretty ugly documents and some pretty ugly playbooks, and you're already going to go a little faster than before. And it gets faster and faster. That's what everybody needs to remember. Yeah. We're right at time. Just realize in order for us to chat and interact, we have to be on LinkedIn. There's too many tools and buttons and windows. So I will be responding to any of the chats and things in the questions later. So stay tuned on LinkedIn, and Akshay will jump in too, I'm sure. Thank you, Akshay. You win for background, by the way. You kind of brought the game to all my future guests. Akshay kind of brought it. So
it's a nice Friday morning. So I'm gonna be happy with where I chose to live for a while.
Beautiful. That's what it's all about. Cheers. Happy Friday, everybody. Thanks, Akshay, and more to come next week.
Take care.
Bye.